Extremity is a state of being. It is lived only in this moment. It is not calculation, not strategy, not applause. It is the death of all three and the birth of total fire. Extremity is not something you do, it is not something you plan. Extremity is the death of the one who plans. When you calculate, when you strategize, when you wait for the right moment, you have already left extremity. You have chosen safety, you have chosen time, you have chosen the illusion that there is a later. Extremity is now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. It burns everything that is not now: calculation, hesitation, applause, fear, morality, comfort. All of them are games of the mind designed to buy you more time, to let you live half heartedly. Extremity is the refusal to live half heartedly. It is a refusal to breathe with one lung. It is a refusal to sip life when it demands that you drink it whole. When you are in extremity, you do not seek reward because you are gone. There is no one left to reward. There is only the act, only the fire. This is why extremity is the death of calculation, of strategy, of applause. Because extremity is the death of you. And only in that death does life begin. True extremity is beyond the reach of thought because thought is always cautious, always seeking safety, always negotiating with fear and desire. Extremity burns all of that away. It is pure doing, pure living, not for reward, not for applause, not for outcome. It is a state where there is no hesitation, no bargaining, no moderation, just the full force of life, here and now. Listen carefully because this is subtle and it is everything. Calculation lives in the head, extremity lives in the marrow. Calculation is a mental act. Should I do this? Will this work? What will I get? Will I lose? Will people approve? It is the ego's way of keeping itself safe. It is hesitation dressed as wisdom. It is fear disguised as prudence. Extremity is not mental, it is existential. It is not thought, it is fire. It is not something you sit and plan. It is something that happens to you when you are consumed. When you calculate, you split yourself. One part of you wants to leap, the other part is holding the rope. Extremity does not allow this split. It demands the whole of you right now. That is why it is a state of being. It is not deciding to be extreme. It is not thinking extremely. It is being so devoured by the thing that calculation simply cannot arise. This is why the great ones seems irrational, even insane to the world. They are not acting from calculation. They are not measuring risk. They are living in such a state of intensity that the question of risk never even enters. When you are extreme, you are not doing math in your head. You are burning. And when you burn, there is no space for fear, for craving, for hesitation. There is only the act itself. So, extremity is not about thinking more intensely. It is about losing yourself entirely so that what remains is not a thinker, not a calculator, but a force. A force that moves without asking permission. That is why I say extremity is a state of being, not calculation. Because calculation is small, being is vast, and greatness is only found in the vast. The moment you calculate, the moment you ask, will this work? Will this bring reward? You have already stepped away from extremity. Calculation is hesitation. Hesitation is fear. Fear is the ego trying to survive. The man who is calculating is not consumed. He is protecting himself. He is dipping one foot into the fire while keeping the other foot in safety. And that is not extremity, that is compromise. When you act for a reward or for applause, you have left the act itself. You have made the act into a means to an end. And the mind begins to chatter. What if the reward doesn't come? What if they don't applaud me? What if I fail? The thousand voices return. Your fire is diluted. Extremity means you are so consumed that you don't even have the space to think about reward. You are not doing it for applause. You are not doing it to prove something. You are doing it because there is no other way to breathe. That is why it must be done without calculation. That is why it must be done without reward. Because calculation and reward seeking split your mind into two. Half in the act, half in the outcome. And extremity demands everything. When you act without seeking reward, your action becomes pure. It becomes whole. It is no longer corrupted by fear, expectation, or vanity. And in that purity, you find power that is terrifyingly sharp. So I say this because it is the only way to access the full force of who you are. If you calculate, if you seek applause, You will always be half dead, half in, half alive, and there is no greatness in that. And this is the only way to actually live. Everything else is death. The future is death, it is a projection, a fantasy, a story you tell yourself so you don't have to act right now. The past is death, it is memory, regret, nostalgia, none of which is real. Calculation is death, it is hesitation disguised as intelligence. Extremity is the antidote to all of this. It is not philosophy, it is not self improvement, it is the refusal to postpone your life by even 1 second. You ask why I say to refuse, comfort, delay, moderation. Because comfort dulls that blade. Delay kills momentum. Moderation is the cupboard's invention to feel safe while dying slowly. The man who is extreme does not negotiate with these things. He does not fight them. He simply steps out of their reach by being consumed right now. And when you sharpen every thought, every decision, every action until it cuts, what happens? You cut away the inessential, you cut away the noise, you cut away the ego's endless chatter. What remains is clarity, presence, totality. This is that state in which true creation, true greatness, true freedom occurs. So I say this not as advice but as truth. Be consumed right now, not tomorrow, not when you are ready, not when you are comfortable. Now. This is not motivation. This is the only doorway to a life that is actually alive. The man who becomes something does not become it by accident. He does not become it by moderation. He becomes it by obsession, by extremity, by burning everything that is not aligned with that one thing. Balance is a social invention. It is for the common man who wishes to be safe, who wishes to be liked, who wishes to avoid annihilation. The great ones are not interested in safety. They are not interested in the middle path. They are not interested in enjoying life. They go to the edge and then they step over it. They die for their thing, and because they die for it, they come alive in it. The traits courage, discipline, perseverance these are the children's toys of motivational books. They are what the world tells you are the secrets to success because the world is terrified of telling you the truth. The truth is that you must become a maniac, a madman. You must be willing to lose everything that is not your pursuit your reputation, your comfort, your self image, your so called wellness. Not because you are punishing yourself, but because nothing else matters. Greatness is extremity. It is a life lived so sharply that it cuts everything around it. The middle ground is death. It is the slow, quiet death of men who wanted to be safe. What the world calls courage or discipline or perseverance are simply pale shadows of what is required. They are toys you can hold in your hand and admire, but they do not break you. They do not demand everything. They do not cost you sleep, comfort, or the faint illusion of safety. True extremity is not about acting heroic for a moment. It is about consuming yourself so completely in one direction that the rest of life becomes irrelevant. It is madness, yes, but a particular kind of madness, a directed madness. The man who is extreme does not ask permission from the world, does not wait for approval, and does not negotiate with himself. You must lose everything that is not your pursuit. It is not metaphorical, your reputation, your friends, your self image, even your health, all of it becomes expendable if it is not aligned with the fire you are carrying. This is not punishment, it is not suffering for suffering's sake, it is a necessary condition for clarity and power. Because only when everything else is remote does the mind stop waffling, does it stop asking questions that don't matter. Only then do you see the path with a terrifying precision. Extremity is a scalpel, moderation is a spoon. The spoon feeds comfort, the scalpel feeds truth, and truth, when fully grasped, isolates you, it alienates you, it scares others. But this isolation is the womb of greatness. From this crucible, the extreme man emerges not with half measures, not with resilience or persistence, but with absolute, undeniable impact. The world lies to you with motivational slogans because it fears the extremity that demands total annihilation of the self as it is now, and the reconstruction of the self as it must be to dominate your purpose. There is no shortcut, there is no negotiation. Either you step into extremity or you remain a spectator to life, clinging to comfort and illusions of control. Extremity is not a strategy, it is not a plan, it is a state of being. When you are extreme, you do not calculate, you do not negotiate with fear or desire, you do not pause to ask, will this work? Will this bring pleasure? Will others approve? All these voices, the thousand whispers of doubt, craving, validation, comfort, they vanish. Not because you fight them, not because you resist them, but because your life is so consumed by the fire of your extremity that there is no room for them. You are not looking for outcomes. You are not thinking in terms of reward. You are not seeking admiration or fear. You are fully present in the act of being extreme, moment by moment. And here is the knife edge truth: extremity is relentless progression. Not tomorrow, not when you feel like it, not in some vague next step. It is this very moment and the very next and the very next. Every day, every minute, every action. Sharpen it, push it, burn it, cut it. Do not rest in comfort. Do not rest in reflection. Do not rest in morality. If you do this, if you truly embrace extremity, lust, craving, comfort, validation, gone. Fear, doubt, hesitation, gone. Even attachment to success or failure, irrelevant. What remains is pure execution, pure presence, pure intensity. And that is where greatness lives. That is where men who become gods of their craft dwell. Everything else, calculation, compromise, moderation, is for the weak. You are not weak, you are not negotiating, you are extreme. Your ego and the mirage of future fulfillment. You see it clearly. The mind says, I will make 60 crores, I will make 100 crores, and then I will be complete. This is the mind's trick. This is the ego selling you an illusion of a future paradise that never arrives. Even if you make the money, you will wake up the next morning and it will not be enough. The next will whisper again, double it, triple it. Now you must protect it. Now you must build an empire. This endless next is the treadmill that enslaves almost every man. The mistake of thinking the job will solve you. A job does not solve you. A company does not solve you. A relationship, a title, a bank balance, none of these things will give you a permanent seat in heaven. The job simply gives the mind a new stage on which to play the same drama. The script doesn't change unless you do. Extremity as a state of being. And this is where you are beginning to land. Extremity is not about what you do in 10 years. It is about this very moment. If you are truly extreme right now, the question of next does not arise. The man who is truly extreme is not thinking of 2035. He is not thinking about whether this job is enough. He is so consumed by the fire of this moment that there is no room for craving, for doubt, for lust, for validation, or even for planning his greatness. This is why the great ones seem free, even when they are at war with the world. They are free because they are fully, totally, unapologetically here, burning your mind and body. You should always move yourself to a position where you can burn your mind and body. Yes, that is it. To live on that knife edge where you are being stripped away, tested, broken, sharpened, this is the path. Not to suffer, not to punish yourself, but to be fully alive, fully awake every second. When you live like this, the next is no longer a torture. It is simply the natural unfolding of intensity. You do not run from it, you ride it, and you ride it until there is nothing left of you except the work, the fire, the clarity. This is a good frame of mind, but it is not a frame of mind in the intellectual sense. It is a way of being that must be renewed in every breath. Do not seek to be extreme tomorrow. Do not seek to be extreme for 10 years. Be extreme now, and again now, and again now. Extremity is not something you put on like a jacket. It is not a motivational tool. It is not a plan for tomorrow. When you are truly extreme, you are swallowed whole by the moment. There is no next week. There is no will this succeed. There is no audience watching you, clapping for you, judging you. You are alone and you are burning. When you do this, all the thousand voices, craving, fear, lust, validation seeking, they do not need to be silenced. They simply disappear because there is no space for them. A man who is consumed with fire has no appetite for candy. A man at war has no time to check if the crowd approves of his battle stance. And here is what most will never understand. Extremity is not dramatic. It is not a single heroic act. It is not a decision made once and left to run. It is moment to moment annihilation of hesitation. It is the continual sharpening of your mind and your actions until you bleed. It is not glamorous, it is relentless. Every day, every minute, every action, sharpen it, push it, burn it, cut it. Because if you stop, even for a moment, the mediocrity of the world begins to grow back like weeds. You must burn them before they take root. Every day, every minute. Do not rest in comfort. Do not rest in reflection. Do not rest in morality. Yes, comfort will put you to sleep. Reflection will trap you in the mind. Morality will bind you with chains given to you by society. Extremity lives outside of all three. It is wild, it is ungoverned, it is alive. This is not advice, this is not philosophy. This is an invitation to step into the fire with no guarantee, no safety net, no applause. And once you step in, you do not step out.